it's like, oh, what's your band sound like? I'm like, well, it's terrible for one, and it's just I just yell and get really sweaty, and it just sounds really bad.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. David, thank you so much for your time today. As we are talking, we are exactly 1 week away of the release of Wrong Dream. So I know that you shared with me, hey, I'm at work and I'm just chilling out. Are you just chilling out, or is that impossible a week before the release of an album?
Oh, so I work in music full time, so I have a bunch of other records out today that I need to work on. So it's like my own record is slated into just the work of other people's music. So I feel like I have an okay grasp on it, but I'm addicted to anxiety, so I think that's why I love to put out records. So no, there is no calm. There's never a calm.
Yeah. I mean, it is a good segue to your music with Tunic, obviously. Addicted to anxiety. It's kind of like the slogan of the band, maybe. I don't know. But before we go into that and the whole record, I wanted to ask you something that I've been dying to ask you. Because, I mean, first of all, you work in the music industry. People have to label things because that helps other people understand and buy something or check something out. I'm sure you've laughed at times at the creative way that people have tried to label Tunic. Let's put it down to proggy noise punk or what have you. Is my assumption correct that it's sometimes a little bit hilarious to see people trying to define you?
Yeah, of course. I always try to think about like the easiest way to explain my band to people, and I'm just like it's really noisy punk, and I pretty much just explain like I just met some of my partner's in-laws for the first time, and we've been together for like 5 years or something like that, but we've just never made it out to Montreal in a while, and it's like, oh, what's your band sound like? I'm like, well, it's terrible for one, and it's just I just yell and get really sweaty, and it just sounds really bad. It's just really bad noisy punk music, and so so sometimes I see people when I just like to see like really bad comparisons when people are like, it sounds like, I think someone in a podcast once said that we sounded like Sylvanesso or something like that, like some like straight up just indie pop band, and I was like, sure, I don't really care.
There you go. Well, I'm not going to compare it to Ace of Base just yet. But a question that I wanted to ask you is, for bands that embrace that noise as an art form, not noise as a sound. Well, I guess it's the same thing at the end of the day. And especially that are not afraid of positioning yourself as a more progressive player of that kind of style and kind of music. The hilarious side effect of that is that there are almost few genres out there that seem to restrict themselves as much as genres that are considered progressive, because it's like nobody would almost now be okay if you guys just played Smoke on the Water. And
right.
I wonder if is that sometimes a frustration that you kind of profile yourselves like, hey, yeah, with Tunic, you don't know what to expect, and it's gonna be a little bit different. I'm sure that sometimes you just want to pick up a guitar and just play a riff. Is that self-inflicted restriction in a way, or you have to always be super creative? Is that something that annoys you sometimes?
Oh, you know what? That's a great question. Not really, because I have never really been one to just play a riff or
right.
to really we made this collaborative record with this band from Kansas called Bummer, where I just play a shit ton of power chords, which I've never done ever, and so I've never played such sort of like caveman-y riffs or like meatheady things before in my life.
Yeah.
And because that stuff just doesn't really appeal to me all the time. So like the stuff that I write in Tunic is just like truly what my hands create and what my ears think sounds good. And so it's never been a restriction or a hindrance at all. It's just sort of been the most like organic way that we've just made music before.
I think there was like a statement in the PR assets that were like sent to us, you know, in preparation for interviews like this, and lifting the curtain a little bit for everybody watching this.
Yeah, like,
I mean, obviously, like there is some information shared, and I think it said something that, you know, with this record, you know, intentionally wanting to push yourself to different areas. So, but you also say like, hey, you know, whatever in an organic way comes out of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that like for you? Because, you know, sometimes when people say like, oh, we intentionally want to go into a somewhat, you know, even more adventurous direction, that sounds like you have somewhat of a battle plan or a template in mind, but
right.
Which is not necessarily the same as, well, I just play whatever comes out of me. So what can you help me understand a little bit, like the writing process for this record, how that went?
Sure. So the writing process for this record was different than all the other ones. All the other records, I would just show up with a riff, with sort of like a half-baked idea, and we would just really jam.
Okay.
But because I was working full-time, I spent a lot of time writing this record between the hours of like 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. in my basement alone. And sort of like building songs out like on Ableton, or just sort of like demoing ideas. And actually a big chunk of this record was written first as not a Tunic record. I was like, I'm going to make something different. I wrote a bunch of this record actually with bass and keyboards. And then I eventually, because of it, I guess this is the perfect answer to your question. Because I got too comfortable and too much like muscle memory on the guitar, I wanted to go back to my native instrument that was bass, and then another instrument that I'm extremely uncomfortable with, which is synth and keyboard. And so I sort of composed about probably half the record that way. And it was supposed to be like for another project that was just like, maybe one day I'll play bass and someone will play keyboard and someone will play drums. And then I was showing the songs to a friend of mine, and he was like, these are all just Tunic songs with you playing keyboard instead of guitar. And then he's like, he just like showed me, he's like, well, if you pick up the guitar and you just play these riffs on guitar, I was like, oh, actually that sounds really good. And so like, that's sort of what ended up happening.
Is that for you, who is like the main, writer of the band, and kind of like, the in control, if you will, that, does it come easy for you to then go to like a friend and go like, hey, listen to this and give me some feedback? Is that something that's easy for you to let others or other people's opinions in, or is that hard for you to do?
It wasn't always easy. It's a lot easier now, because I think like we sort of like have a bit of a trusted circle. Right. A good friend of ours, Drew Reekman, who filled in on bass for this record, has sort of always been a trusted ear. And like he sent me his band stuff, I send him my band stuff, and our original bass player Rory had I would give Rory probably like 50% writing credits on the first few records before he decided to just go back to school, and he's about to have a child and pursue that lifestyle. And so this was sort of the first record that I wrote without Rory, and so that was also a big difference. And so I just wanted to push myself sonically by switching it up, the instrumentation, and actually having the time. Because before I was just like, we're a young band, let's make as much material and tour as much as possible and get everything going all the time.
When you release art into the wild, if you will, people are going to, dissect it, react to it, put their own assumptions or projections onto it, and I'm obviously no different. That a song that I thought was really cool was Punishment Enough, and I go like, oh, like, seems like, David is maybe even more influenced by Pixies and Melvins and that kind of stuff. Is that just me projecting my own taste onto your art, or is there some level of truth there?
Well, the Pixies are my like all-time favorite bands. Like they're the reason I like they were my gateway into anything heavy.
Okay.
As someone who was originally like very much like an indie hipster kid as a teenager, the first band that I listened to, I was like, this is cool yelling. But to be honest, Punishment Enough's working title was Converge. We're just like, this sounds like Converge. And so we were just like, you know how like every band does that. And so,
Yeah.
And so, so yeah, I've never actually been a huge Melvins guy.
Okay.
And some people will say that. Quite a few people say that. And I've just never been. I've never really dabbled, to be honest. I can't even pass judgment or anything. I know the lore, obviously, and the Nirvana connection and everything. But yeah, that was,
of course.
Punishment Enough was very much a, like, riff A, it was very convergy, and then there's some parts of it that we're trying to make it a little bit more Hot Snakes or Drive Like Jehu, or, you know, some sort of Froberg and Swami project. Those are those are the big influences on that track particularly.
Awesome. If we move beyond the music and go like a combination of the atmosphere, but also what you talk about, well, sometimes quite literally talk about on the record, and sometimes sing and sometimes yell, as you say, beautiful yelling. You already mentioned before, like, you know, addicted to anxiety and, you know, all these, I think in Disease, you literally yell, you know, you're feeling stuck, that idea of people and dealing with these demons. Obviously you've had your fans before pandemic, but do you feel that for a lot of people, if not everybody in the world, in the last 2-3 years, was at some point faced with their own demons that they may not even knew they had? Are you seeing, and I don't want to like make either of us sound arrogant, but do you see more people reacting like, oh, they're getting it now? Or that people are reacting or relating more to your music that had to go through some dark days themselves to be more open to that?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think there's more and more people coming like on board to the Tunic camp now more than ever, and I think it's just a combination of all the hard work we've put into the project and working with the PR team and Artoffact and just sort of and touring and everything like that. But plus, I think that I'm much more legible on this record, where you can actually sort of understand what I'm saying helps, and that the music isn't constantly just this brutal wall of noise, like that there's some more space to breathe, and so there's like maybe this Wrong Dream is a bit more of an accessible record, and I do think that like my partner and I talk about this a lot, that hardships and difficulties and struggles is what grows people. And if you've never had any real, like, you know, if you've always been privileged and have never had any major struggles or heartache, and we all just went through something where we did experience something quite heavy together. And so I think that sort of has maybe overall sort of gave humanity a bit more depth emotionally.
Well, people will be able to explore that newfound emotional depth when they go see you guys play. And you said before, you know, you want to play as much as possible. And now that the world has opened up more and more and more, we'll see more of that from you as well. So to wrap us up, what can everybody watching this video, what can we expect for the rest of this year coming from the Tunic camp?
Oh, so much touring. Which is great. We leave on May 3rd and we're out for, I'll get back about on the 28th or 29th of May. And then we actually just confirmed a tour, a support tour for another artist that will be across North America again in October. There's another run in September happening. So we're just going to tour. We have a couple songs kicking into can that we're going to release. And we're making another record in August already. So we got to buy a new van. There's, just the things that bands do. We're going to play shows and tour, and we built this band to play live, and that's what we're going to do.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for taking some time on your busy day to answer some of my questions. I do appreciate that. I'm excited for you to release this new album, I hope to see you guys on a stage, and it sounds like there will be plenty of opportunities for me to do that.
There will be.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for taking the time, Jasper. Appreciate it.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.